Welcome back to the Autosportradio.com 2020 show. I'm your host, Don Kay. We are once again and still at the Grand King Race Shops on 8155 Crawfordsville Road in the beautiful town of Indianapolis. And when this isolation stuff concludes, you got to come by here. It's a great place. It's a working museum. In fact, one of the sponsors that Grant had at one time was Evel Knievel, and here's a bicycle, Evel Knievel bicycle we have sitting in front of me. We have a lot of interesting things to look at, so if you get a chance to come on by and take a look at the place, but you need to call ahead and make sure that they're going to be here because they're a working shop. But give them a call, set up the time to come in and visit. You'll really enjoy it. It's 317-820-3595. Today's show is presented by Honda and Honda HPD, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the NTT IndyCar Series, SVRA, McGilvery's Pub and Speedway, and I just forgot, a VP Insurance. Founded in 1993 to spearhead Honda's entry into IndyCar racing, Honda Performance Development has overseen successful racing efforts at all levels of the sport, from karting and quarter midgets to IndyCar and prototype sports cars. HPD offers race engines and competition parts for professional, amateur, and entry-level racers. For more information about HPD and the company's racing product line, please visit hpd.honda.com. Now, I know everybody can't wait. Say, oh, goody, I get to go to a dentist. Well, not everybody likes dentists, but I got a good one. The Indy Dental Group, Dr. Jack Miller, a veteran of the Indianapolis 500, and his wife, Dr. Liz Lewis, have a phenomenal practice, one of the highest rated in the state. You need a dental work, call, get an appointment. Number 317-846-6125. And I have to tell you that we have a new computer guy, Plus Affordable Computer Doctor, Steve Freeze. He is a doctor because he makes house calls. Give him a call, tell him your problem, see what he can do to help you. Number is 317-328-0766. And I have to thank, as always, Speedway Cable TV, Brian Pierce and Bill P., as they take care of the editing of the program as we record it, and then they edit it and put it together. I appreciate it. If you wonder why do these guys and gals like to get in these race cars and go on 230 miles an hour, you want to find out, take a ride in the Indy Racing Experience. You'll see what a thrill it is. You can go to IndyRacingExperience.com and find a date that'll work for you, and then in the promo box put DK1. You get a 50% discount, or you can call Shonda. Number is 317-243-7171. It's a time for you to renew your insurance for your home, your car, or your commercial property. Do what I've done and a lot of people have done. Call Mike Pardee at VP Insurance. They're located at 5004 West 16th Street in Speedway. Give him a call. Tell him what you need. He'll help you out. I guarantee you. Number is 317-248-0070. And if you like vintage racing, and there's one way to keep up with what's going on. You go to svra.com and subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. It's a top flight publication. A lot of great stories, great pictures, and a lot of the cars and drivers you knew as a kid, they're still running, and some of the drivers are still driving. So check it out, svra.com, and subscribe to Speed Tour magazine. If you have a vintage car, you'd like to buy one, or if the one you got needs restoration, the Grand King shops can help you. Everything from the car to the engine, they can help you out all you need. Or if you're looking to buy one, they have some for sale. In fact, there's one behind me, the Rice Offie, Lightning Offie is sitting behind me. They have cars for sale. They can help you find them. Give them a call. Tell them what you're looking for or what you got. 317-820-3595. My guest today is quite a long time member of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway racing division. He started out where I first met him at the Indy Racing League, and he's been director of his operations, and then he went to marketing and coordinating a series and working with promoters and so forth. Then he left and went to IU. From IU, he got involved in a company that he was involved in for 3 years. We'll find out about that. But now he's back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Please welcome a guy that's been gone for a while, but he's back again. Please, Mike Lewis, or John Lewis. I'm sorry, John Lewis. John, how you doing?
Doing all right, Don. Good to see you.
You're doing well health-wise?
We are very fortunate. Healthy. My wife's healthy. My kids are healthy. My parents are healthy. So happy to say that.
Everybody that's a race fan is, of course, looking for the start of the season, which, according to the plan currently, is June, I think, the 6th down in Texas. Your new job now that you're here with at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, what brought you back?
Uh,
Besides a Cadillac or a tow truck or something?
no, I'm fortunate that I had some good timing. I was at a place in life where I was, I had some flexibility for the next chapter. And on the day that the announcement was made that the Penske organization was going to buy the Speedway, it was shortly thereafter that I was contacted by Mark Miles and Roger. And if you know either one of those two, very persuasive, and the dialogue was easy. It felt comfortable. And before I knew it, I was back on the team. So I'm very, very happy to be back. It's been 4 months and to the day, right?
Yeah.
It closed on January 6th, January, February, March, April, May, 5 months to the day. And it's been a heck of a ride.
Now, you graduated from Ball State in '94 and then went on to IU to get your master's degree. When you got out of school, were you looking to get into racing, or did it just happen that something opened up and there you were?
No, I had a sports business degree, and I actually did an internship with the Indianapolis Indians between my junior and senior year, and I enjoyed Indianapolis. And as I was graduating, I applied for a position with the PGA Tour, and I got hired by the senior PGA Tour, which is now called the Champions Tour. And the tournament I got assigned to was the Brickyard Crossing Championship in 1994. That was the inaugural golf event, as Pete Dye had reconfigured the golf course. Tony George and the family had done some changes at the Speedway. That's when the warm-up lanes were added, and they had reconfigured the pits. And I got assigned to the tournament out here. The previous few years it had been at Broadmoor Country Club. I worked the golf tournament, which, give or take, was maybe the third week of September. And I was a full-time employee of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I started on Halloween, October 31st, 1994.
And you were with the Indy Racing League from its inception.
Correct.
It had to be kind of interesting to, as Tony is putting together a program and a new series, it had to be kind of interesting to be involved in the putting together that series.
Yeah, I was, again, a product of good timing. 94 was the first Brickyard race. 96 was the first Indy Racing League event down in Orlando. I was young. I wasn't married, no kids at that time, and available to travel. And for the early years of the Indy Racing League, I would work at the Speedway all week, and then Tony would send a handful of us, the weekend warriors, to go out and officiate Indy Racing League events. We did that for a few years. Jerry Hauer was one of the early leaders of the Indy Racing League, and then it was Leo Mel. And I don't have any notes with me, Don, but I would say for the first probably 2 years, it went like that. And then as we were adding events, I think it was by the 4th or 5th year, Tony said, let's split the Speedway and the series. And Brian Barnhart, myself, and a handful of others went directly to IndyCar for kind of full time. And Mel Harder, you probably know that name, Kevin Ford,
I know Mel.
and did the Speedway side. And by that time we were up to 9, 11, 13 races. So I was kind of full time on the ops side for IndyCar. So 94 to 2000, because I do remember being integral to the first F1 race here at the Speedway. And then from 2000 to 2010, I was primarily doing IndyCar items. So very fortunate to have a lot of exposure to many sides of the business. But to your question, I started in golf and then ended up in racing.
I know you were involved initially when I don't know if it was when the Indy Racing League started or when they came to the IndyCar series with the series, and you were also involved in the Indy Lights, if I'm not mistaken.
That's correct. When Lights launched, it was Roger Bailey and myself. I was chief steward, for lack of a better term, but I would officiate those races. And Roger Bailey was really the leader of Indy Lights. And I'll never forget that. Our first race was at Kansas Speedway. And, again, just more good experience. For 13 or 14 of my years, I did every race in race control. A lot of people don't know that I did the radio frequency fire control for about half of that time, and then shifted over a seat and did race control for the other half of that time. So back then we would officiate those events with, a handful of people. I'd have Rick Mears and Al Unser sitting behind me, and we'd have Johnny Rutherford in the pace car, and we'd have the observer circuit and the firemen on a different radio frequency. And, it was all ovals, as you know.
Yeah.
And, we would go to Phoenix and Loudon, New Hampshire, and Pikes Peak and Texas and all these tracks, and got to actually, be the voice of race control, talking to Rutherford in the pace car and all the teams in pit lane. So I really enjoyed that as well.
Well, as you know, when you go up to race control now, it's a massive television screen, so they don't miss anything.
Yeah, it's a lot different. Technology has certainly advanced since I probably did my last race in maybe 07 or 08.
And you went to IU. You had a pretty good thing going at IU. I can't remember what your position was, but you were a vice president of some department.
Yeah, I went down there over capital planning and facilities, and it was a great run. Did that for almost 7 years. In my time there, we did a little over $1.2 billion in construction. The football stadium, Assembly Hall, that was one of the last projects. If you're familiar with IUPUI here in downtown Indy, we built the new dorm, the new administration building, a major addition to the dental school, on and on and on. We redid the natatorium. And Indiana University as a system is 7 campuses across the state. So we'd have projects in South Bend, New Albany, Richmond, Kokomo, Indianapolis, Bloomington, and Gary. And it was a fabulous job, great people, a wonderful experience.
So your degree had to have something to do with design, engineering, construction, something.
My undergrad is in sports business and my MBA is in finance. And I always wanted to be an architect. That's why I went to Ball State. I ended up playing volleyball at Ball State, and that diverted me from the School of Architecture. But I've always had a gift, seems a little bit presumptuous on my part. It's always been very easy for me to conceptualize a 2-dimensional drawing in a 3-dimension space. So logistics and planning and facilities related projects have always come very natural to me, very comfortable for me. So while I don't have a proper degree in engineering or architecture, I've always have been drawn to that, and that's been fun for me to do.
My father was an architect, and as a kid, I was in this office with him. He had his own firm, Barry & Kay, in Chicago. And he's sitting at, which they don't have anymore, drawing board. And they had the paper out, and he's free. He had a big pencil, and he was free drawing the building he had in mind they were building. And the guy walked up and said, "You're an architect?" He said, "Yeah." "This is what you do?" Well, architects design. We have engineers that put together our ideas and so forth. And I said, that's kind of funny because you're an architect and we're very successful at it. And I couldn't draw a straight line with a ruler.
Yeah.
And I have no concept for drawing, but he did. And it was kind of fun to watch. But you have now returned. After you left IU, you got involved in a business, Allegiant, I believe it was called. And what did that do?
Yeah, thank you. It was called Allegiant International, and it was a consulting company that specialized in supply chain problems. So we put together a network of resources so that our blue chip customers were General Motors and Ford and Navistar up in Chicago. We did some work with Cummins. But when they would have supply chain issues, they would call our company to say, hey, can you supplement the brain power and the backbone to get the supply chain back on track so that they could build vehicles. All 3 years that I was there, we were awarded the General Motors Supplier of the Year award. I was very proud of that. The company had never received that prior. And we had a successful run, and it was very attractive to sell. So we packaged that company up and sold it in the middle of 2018. And as part of the sale, I agreed to stay on for 18 months as part of a transition. And then, Mark Miles and Roger Penske came a-calling right about the end of that commitment, and it just all lined up perfect to come back here.
Now that you're here, what does your new job entail? Now I've heard you have something to do with Hellman Boulevard, among other things.
Well, it's facilities, real estate, and development. And I think the development portion of that is a bit down the road. But Roger and Mark and Doug, Allison, and that crew are very passionate about not only the Speedway itself, but the neighboring properties. But we'll get to that. The immediate focus has been to enhance the fan experience. God willing, we have some races here pretty soon, and we get to invite everybody back. I think you'll be very impressed with what has been done in a very short amount of time.
And the interesting thing that a lot of people know is I've gotten a lot of emails about this. What are they doing? Everything's shut down. Everybody on vacation? I said, quite the contrary. When you get here, you're going to be surprised. And I've sent out some articles to some people when I started coming to races, been following it for 50 years and more, and said, look what's going on now. When everybody thinks they're resting, all of the things that Roger had in mind are getting done a little quicker because there's nothing to interrupt them until August at the moment anyway. So he is very big on fan experience. Everything you read, he wants fan experience. He wants the fans to enjoy it. And of course, the obvious thing will happen if Joe Blow comes and likes it, he'll get his buddy Arnie Schmortz next door to come with him. So in the long run, but Roger's got a huge passion for making it a real experience.
Working for Roger Penske is like getting your PhD in business. His ability to focus, his natural leadership traits, his vision for what he wants and how he wants to get there. And believe me, I've been fortunate to work with some exceptional people. His ability to articulate what the plan is and then execute against that plan is like no one else I've ever been associated with. So I don't want to spoil the intrigue. I would tell you, someone like yourself, Don, who's been out here countless times, if you came out here tomorrow and saw all the things that have been done and the things that are going on, I truly think you would be speechless. The place looks amazing.
Yeah, I hear he's putting in 27 scoring screens so the people in the paddock area that sit up high, that's the lower deck across from the pit area. When they get in the middle and up, they can't see anything but the pit area. He's got all the scoring boards, 27, I believe. So they'll be able to keep up with what's going on. And if there's an accident, they'll know about it, which is amazing. He's taken out dead trees. He's replaced them. He's cleaned up the bathrooms and made some changes there. I had SJ on here a couple of weeks, or last week, I guess it was. And she said when they have a meeting and everybody's sitting at the table, she said, inevitably I end up sitting across from him. He'll be talking about and questioning something that has nothing to do with me. But he'll look at me and say, what do you think? I said, and she said, he wants to hear from everybody, because just because you don't sell tickets doesn't mean you don't have another idea.
She's absolutely right. If you're in the room, he wants you engaged, and he will ask for opinions. He wants you to think, and he wants you to contribute. Very much a team atmosphere where he's the conductor, if you will, of the orchestra, or the captain of the team, pick your analogy, but wants everybody to be engaged and contribute. It's always we. It's never him or me. It's we. How are we going to do this? Look what we can do. And it's very inspiring.
Early on, when you were with the Indy Racing League or IndyCar, you were involved with promoters and race owners and scheduling. Are you involved in any of that at all now?
I'm not. I'm still learning faces and names, but there are people that are dedicated at IndyCar that do that. Steven Starks, if you know him.
Oh yeah.
Very good person. That's his focus. My focus is primarily on the physical assets of the Speedway. And I think we're going to be busy improving the fan experience over the next several months for certain, and most likely the next few years. And then if there are other opportunities or things to do, or if I can assist, I would be happy to do that. But right now, let's get this place looking as it should, and let's get some fans back here and host the best experience possible.
Now I noticed that he has brought back or has brought in an 8-hour endurance race, and he's going to run the Indy cars on the road course. And I understand there's talk about concluding the season here as well, possibility. So he's, for a guy who you would think, he's a race car owner, he was a former race driver. As a matter of fact, when they had the announcement of the 100 days till the 500 press conference, I asked a question. I said, by the way, I first met you, and it was either 1954 or 1956 at Meadowdale Raceway outside of Chicago. He said, I don't remember that. I said, I got news for you. I don't remember that much about it either. It was a long time ago. But the man has, even in that time, when I watched him there, his driving suit was spotless. His equipment was spotless. Everybody, looked perfect. The ironed pants and everything. And I thought, boy, usually race drivers, race teams are a little scraggly, but not him. And he hasn't changed a bit.
Nope. He is very much the eye for detail, and it's a simple philosophy, and that everything matters. Keep your area clean. Let's make it a good fan experience, whether it's the grass or the trees or the flags or the bathrooms or the doors or the signs or the lights. All of it matters equally.
Yeah, one of the first things he did, and I noticed it right off the bat, is he put a flagpole in front of the admin building. And then he changed the sign at the entrance to gate 1, where now you can see them at night.
Yep.
And they made a change. I think they lit them and then they took them down and changed them again, so that they're black during the day and lit at night, which is pretty clever. So
they're at Tunnel 2 as well. So now gate 1 and Tunnel 2 are black letters during the day and white letters at night.
It's amazing. Coming back here, I assume when the call came, you had no hesitation to return.
No, not in the sense of who was asking and what they're asking me to do. I had the appropriate conversation with my wife. My kids are now of age where they understand what's going on, and there was no hesitancy on my part whatsoever. I don't want to give the wrong response. It was, let's just make sure everything's right, and that took all of about a 30-second conversation. And my family has been wonderful, because I'm working a lot. I don't. You get up early and you go to bed late, but my days fly by, and knock on wood, I've not had a bad day since joining the team. I've always loved this place. it has an ability to connect with you. And it's just, I feel fortunate. I love it. I try to be the first one in and the last one out, and you know, just do my part to make it that place that's special for so many people.
I think you bring to the table the same thing, in my opinion, and a lot of people's opinion, that Doug does. I mean, there's no question of what this place, what the Speedway means to him. And he has gone so far as to, as you know, he makes phone calls on his way home at night to people. And I asked him one time, the guy who got me started has been coming here since 1954. And I said, give him a call. He said, great, I'll be glad to. And he did call him. And he caught him at a Home Depot shopping. And he said, you know, as old as I am and as much as I've done, he called me and I cried.
I can't hold a candle to Doug. We may have similar, you know, passion levels for the place, but yeah, his connectivity is way beyond my bandwidth or capability, and his job of being an ambassador to the Speedway, to this side of town, to the city of Indianapolis, is noticed by a lot of people. And to your point, I think a lot of people appreciate that extra effort.
I think the results of the awareness of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway and what goes on here besides the 500, in addition to the 500, I think is amazing. And another guy that in fact, two guys that I think have done remarkable, and I don't think, you weren't with IndyCar when Jay Fry, no, I know you weren't with Jay Fry, but I thought he's done a spectacular job. And I think Mark Miles, as you may or may not have heard, when he first came here, a lot of fans and people said, what in the world does he know about racing? Well, theoretically, he doesn't have to know a lot about it. He just has to understand the business and bring the right people in to do the job, which is exactly what he's done.
He has. Mark is a exemplary CEO. I would love to see his contact list someday, because it can be any conversation on any topic, and invariably he'll say, yeah, I know Sally from that place, or I know Joe from that place. The connectivity happens immediately. Jay and I actually met in a parking lot at a volleyball club. His daughter, I think, is a year older than mine, and I'd seen one of the branded cars, the official vehicle, and I went over and knocked on the glass. He was waiting outside to pick up his daughter, and I was doing the same. And I'd heard a lot of good things about him and his tenure with IndyCar, and we struck up a conversation and knew many of the same people and have laughed about that. I'll see him on a Saturday with his baseball cap on, sitting 2 courts down from where I am, doing the same thing, and he's been a joy to work with.
I think what he's done is remarkable, and I think the impressive part to me, anyway, and with a lot of the team owners and so forth and teams, if you got a problem, you got a question, he'll talk to you. Mm-hmm. And I think he's gotten that from his prior experience of team ownership. When he'd say something to the owners of the series or see his official, they didn't pay much attention. He does. If you got a question or a suggestion, he's more than happy to listen to you. And he'll even stop and talk to me.
You've been around the sport a long time, Don, and I've had a lot of, bump my forehead or stub my toes. There's not a how-to book on IndyCar racing. You got to learn it. And whether it's going down and doing the Orlando race like I did for 5 years, or getting the F1 race to come here, or officiating Indy Lights races, there was no, here's how you do that. You kind of get thrown and learn from experience. And, you talked about Doug earlier, he owned, part of an IndyCar team. You talk about Jay, he's been on the participant side and competition side, and, now he's looking out for the best interests of the series and the participants involved. And Mark, whether it was with professional tennis and now racing, and I don't know if you know Allison Langdon, Super Bowl experience and all of her community relationships. It really is a nice blend of this team of people that have enough of the soft skills combined with some of the, learned lessons that the School of Hard Knocks, if you will, that apply it to the betterment of both the Speedway and the league. I noticed that early, that the group that Mark has surrounded himself with is very diverse with regard to the skill sets that they bring to the table. And I think that attributes to the success.
Oh, I agree with you 100%. And you're mentioning Allison. I've had her on the program live a couple of times. Now I'm trying to corral her to do this.
Mm-hmm.
She can do it from her office or home or her deck or anywhere she wants. So I'm still plugging away with that. Plus, I want to talk to Matt Mindrum because I think sales the series is expanding and people are becoming aware of it. And I think a lot of it has to do with the just concluded iRacing challenge.
Yeah.
A lot of people email me and say, "Are you sure this isn't real?" Yeah, I'm quite sure it's not, because it's a phenomenal series, and I thought it was a lot of fun to watch.
I hope SJ gave you a lot of behind-the-scene perspective on that. I know she was directly involved with.
Right.
What do we have, 5 or 6 races?
6 races.
Yeah, I'm with you. I turned on Indianapolis last week, and you're just looking at, I default to, the grandstands, or is that really there? The accuracy of what is portrayed on the screen is incredible. Jay and SJ both had a lot to do with that.
Well, I had my wife watch. She said, "Are they racing today?" "Yes." "What time?" 2:30. For the 7th time I told her. She said, "Let me know when it starts. I want to watch it." So she came in and was watching, and she said, "This is real, isn't it?" I said, "No, it's not."
Yeah.
"Really?" "No, it's not."
Yep.
It's a simulation, and it is so accurate and I've commented on this since I noticed it in the second race. The in-car camera shots when they're looking out, and Paul Tracy has said this is exactly what you'll see when the real cars come out. And as you're watching it, as they're going through corners, you see the shadows. And you look in the rearview mirror and you can see the car behind them.
Yeah.
Good grief, how do you do that? I'm lucky to turn a computer on, and I don't even know how to do Zoom, and we're using it, but not because of me.
Well, and from what I understand, is extremely difficult.
Sure.
And they make it look so easy.
Yes.
A lot of the older guys I still have relationships with, and I was talking to Ed Carpenter, and he said, he goes, everybody calls me Lou. He's like, "Lou, it becomes addictive." He goes, "I'm sitting, 3, 4, 5 hours a day trying to, take a 1/10 of a second off, or try and improve this time." And I just shake my head. And then you watch the broadcast and you hear that, Will Power and Zach Beach and some of these others are just hours and hours per day. I know Tony Kanaan, who I follow on social media, is saying, it was like a job trying to get prepared for these races. So I've never done it, but I understand it's extremely difficult to do. And I thought that the end product was very realistic.
Absolutely. And how they created that in the time and hours it had to take to laser all this, the tracks and the walls and the stands. Oh, good Lord. But it was fun to watch. And I think a lot of people got interested in it. And I hope that it will show when the season gets underway finally, so people come out and watch the real one instead of the one they watch on television, simulated.
It does makes you crave for racing. I know it doesn't substitute the wind in your face and the smell of the burnt rubber, or the fuel burn, the sound of the car going past. So while it was a very realistic representation, I still long for the real thing. So hopefully that is coming sooner than later.
No question. But when you listen to them interview some of the drivers afterwards, they're sweating. And they said, this is tiring. And of course, they showed the shot of the last race last Saturday of Simon Pagenaud with his driver's suit on.
Yeah.
He had socks on. He didn't have any shoes, but he had socks on. But these guys got with it. And it was kind of fun to watch.
Yeah.
Will you be going to any of the races other than the one at 16th in Georgetown?
I think I'll probably go to a few. I'm not sure yet if I'll go to all. I was in St. Pete. That will be a chapter in my book someday. And I was at the COTA Open Test, and I'll most likely go down to Texas just from an operational standpoint to help Bill Van de Sant and Tim Boffman and others, just as a, one team, one fight kind of attitude. So if they need something, I'll be there for them.
Well, I saw you at the press conference for the 100th. I saw you there, and I wanted to talk to you, but you were busy. And then the next thing I know, you're gone, and I was telling stories with somebody. But I can remember back in 96, 97, 98, when the office for IndyCar was IRL at the time was across the street. I could walk in and I popped into your office every so often.
Mm-hmm.
Now you got to go past a guard and and you're in the ivory tower. But I think it's great that you're back. I was always impressed with what you did and how you did it. And I, for one, and I know a lot of guys have said, boy, I'm glad he's back again. We need him. So good to have you back.
I appreciate that. Appreciate what you do. You've been a stalwart fan from day one. So keep spreading the good cheer.
And we try, and who knows, somewhere down the line and during the season, end of the season, I'll call you again, except it probably won't be this way. It might be back at McGilvery's, I think.
I would look forward to that.
All right. Thanks for being with us. Enjoy the time. I hope your family stays healthy, and we'll see you at the first race somewhere.
All right. Thank you.
My guest has been John Lewis, returning to the IndyCar Series, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. You will see him wandering the track, certainly in August for sure. We will be back again. We have some guests lined up upcoming, so we will be hearing. You'll be hearing from us shortly. In fact, our upcoming event that we did yesterday will be online later today. So stick around. You can see us. You can see us on autosportradio.com. You can see us on YouTube, and you can see us on Twitter. And not because of me, because of my IT genius, Ted Howlett, makes all that stuff happen. If he ever gets the sniffles, I'm in trouble. So until the next time, Don Kay saying thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Good day.